Welcome back to the Reimagined Energy podcast. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce you to someone who's bringing a fresh perspective to the climate conversation. Jasmine Awino is a fourth-year student at St. Mary's University who's pursuing a Bachelor of Arts with a double major in political science and economics. She is exploring the connection between climate change and mental health, a topic that doesn't nearly get enough attention. Here's my inspiring conversation with Jasmine. Hi, Jasmine. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Maria. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you here. And I'm really excited about our conversation because so many people, your age are balancing school and work and activism. So tell everybody what sparked your interest in climate change and the energy transition.
So, I'm very new to the world of climate change. I recently completed an internship with Climatlantic this summer, and
Mhm.
my work with Climatlantic introduced me to what climate change is and what that looks like, and just having, hands-on practice on what that kind of world looks like really sparked my interest. And ever since, I've been thinking of ways to break into the field other than the experience that I have. And so I thought about mental health and climate change, and I figured that that would be an excellent topic to touch on a podcast, especially. And I just want to be able to create that space where we can talk about what it feels like to experience climate change and what it feels like to be, to some degree helpless, sorry to say, and just creating that space to have those conversations is important, and I want to be able to do that.
Well, when you think about mental health and climate change together, what's the first connection that comes to your mind?
So the first connection that comes to my mind is grief. Uh,
Hmm.
I think about worry and uncertainty as well, because when you look at even the recent happenings in Nova Scotia, we recently had wildfires, and
Yeah.
just before that, there was a lot of drought in Nova Scotia. And just the other day, they released mandatory water conservation measures. And just to think about how rapidly climate change happens is something that can be so disorienting.
When you think of Hurricane Fiona, it's very disruptive to people's everyday, right?
It is.
And it can be very overwhelming. And it's interesting, all of this talk about climate change, and yes, it's here, but no one's really talking about the mental health side of it, right?
Right. And
And
so climate change can really flip your world upside down. So with mental
yeah,
health, I think I want to also touch on the fact that there aren't very many accessible mental health resources. So when people find themselves in situations that, flip their world upside down, whom are they going to speak to? And that's the kind of thing that I want to be able to amplify. I want to be able to create that space for people to be able to share how they feel about climate change and talk about their experiences.
yeah, because you want to start a podcast about this very topic. You want to talk about climate change and mental health. I mean, we see forest fires. There were people who lost things, with the
Right,
Tantalin fires that was so devastating for many
right.
families. I mean, it has a ripple effect, and it's something that's not discussed as openly, and when we have a hurricane that's coming or a forest fire that's happening, that's triggering for a lot of people, I would imagine. So if we were to talk about this and the energy transition, energy, everyone's excited about it. Some people are kind of like, hang on a sec, let's explore this a little bit further, because some people can find that stressful, and because they're being forced to think a certain way that they're just not ready to. So from your perspective, what stands
Right.
out the most? Is it hope? Is it worry? Or something in between?
I would say in between,
Yeah.
definitely uncertainty, because when we're making the transition to clean and renewable energy, a lot of people might have a lot of questions. You're not sure what's good, you're not sure what's not, and the whole
Hmm.
uncertainty of it all can make things feel a little bit overwhelming, and it might even discourage people from making the shift because people could decide to remain with what they know and what they're comfortable with. There's a lot of uncertainty and discomfort trying new things.
Well, if you had a chance to share one story or like a personal experience about climate change, you know, what changed your point of view? I mean, what would it be if you were to share something?
Sure. So I feel like I've always been in tune with climate change before I even,
Hmm.
was able to put a name to it. I know I watched my father um, turn plastic into you know things that we could actually use. He made a lot of something out of nothing, and
Wow.
just watching him and learning from him, it kind of instilled that passion to reuse and to just be a lot more environmentally conscious. And
Hmm.
as much as to me that was just a regular day with my father, or just a regular day in my childhood, I didn't think that that experience would reflect into my adult life. And
Hmm.
so when I joined Clim Atlantic for my summer internship, I was I was very interested in the work that they were doing, but to me it feels almost innate
Right.
because my father's very environmentally conscious, so I feel like he influenced me in ways that I can't even explain. And just this year, I was able to use my artistic skills to make a project that talks about climate change. So that was for the 2025 Creative Climate Showcase with Clean Foundation. And I like being able to use my hands. I like being able to incorporate art into my everyday life. So I found that experience and that opportunity really rewarding. I was able
Hmm.
to think outside of the box because at that time I didn't know that I was really passionate about climate change. So being able to think outside of the box and explore um, places that I never really thought of exploring in terms of, career has been
Hmm.
really eye opening. So, with the opportunities that I received from Clean Foundation and from Clim Atlantic, I feel like uh, I feel like I'm ready to hold this space and have that conversation. And also, me being passionate about mental health, I think this
Hmm.
is a very interesting angle to explore.
Right. Well, starting a podcast, it's a really big step. And I'm so proud of you for taking this journey because I think podcasting is a great way of getting messages across and reaching people. But how
Right.
do you hope listeners of your podcast what do you hope that they uh, when they're listening and tuning in, what do you want them to take away from your podcast?
So I want listeners to be a lot more conscious about
Hmm.
just everyday life. And like I mentioned earlier, climate change is happening very rapidly. Like today it's one thing, tomorrow it's another thing. And if we're not conscious and if we're not, at the very least trying to be prepared, we'll find ourselves in a situation that we can't really handle. And I understand that there's so much that is beyond us. There's so much that we already cannot do in terms of climate change. However, I'd like to have a space where people can tune in and know that there are people who understand and know that there are people who have been where they've been, or there are people who are where they are, so that they don't feel so alone. Because climate change is, like I said, can be something beyond our control, right? So once I launch the podcast, I want people to be able to tune in and just explore the mental health angle of climate change. Because um even when we're talking about solutions and adaptation and all of that, I feel like it's all very it's just one side to it, and there's many sides to climate change, including mental health. So I want them to be able to think about it in all it's in all its angles, to have a very, diverse set of opinions, not opinions, but a diverse set of, perspectives to it. So I just want to be able to create that space for people who'll be tuning in to listen.
I'm so excited for you. I really am going to support you in any way I can.
Thank you so much.
So imagine someone your age, someone, youth, younger person. What if they say to you, "Why should I care about climate change?" How would you answer them in a way, that feels real and honest? Like, how do you answer that?
So first of all, if someone were to ask me why should I care about climate change,
Hmm.
I will immediately assume that they have probably not experienced the worst of it, or they haven't been able to imagine themselves in that situation. So I would say to them that climate change affects everyone. It's one thing to log into your social media accounts and look at what's happening around the world. It's another thing to be in the midst of it all. So I want them to understand that as rapidly as it's happening, it's also happening to everyone. And it could be happening to you in ways that you don't really understand. We have, rising food prices. There's food insecurity that could come with that. And there's a lot of grief and uncertainty with food insecurity because we want to be able to have affordable meals every day. But with climate change, that becomes even more, unattainable. And I want them to know that with when things do happen, not to sound morbid or anything,
Hmm.
in the event that we find ourselves victim to climate change, we should be able to, understand that we can actually talk about how we feel, because not many people talk about mental health and climate change, but it's a very real thing. So I want people to be able to, you know, uh, voice their opinions or their concerns in a way that, they won't feel judged, or in a way that they will be understood. So mental health it exists in every area, including climate change. And I think as much as we care about it in, other aspects of our life, we should really care about it in terms of climate change as well.
Jasmine, I want to thank you for joining me today, and I'm wishing you all the best with the upcoming podcast. Still be to be named. It's
Yes.
untitled at this point, but
Yeah.
whatever you title it, it's the meaning and it's the subject that will resonate for
Thank
many
you.
people. All right, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you, Maria. Have a good day.
So, what are your thoughts? Please share them, and also ideas for a catchy title of her new podcast that's coming out this fall. Leave them in the comments or send us an email at info@reimaginedenergy.com. I love Jasmine's courage in starting this conversation around mental health and climate change, two issues that deeply affect all of us. Thank you for tuning in to the Reimagined Energy podcast. I'm your host, Maria McGowan, and I'll catch you next time.